I arrived with a bottle of wine because that's what I always did, arrived prepared to be useful. The house smelled like butter and garlic, the way it always had, as if time were a sauce you could keep warm and ladle out on demand. My grandmother's hands shook when she hugged me. I kissed her cheek and said the same thing I said every Sunday: "You look good." She smiled because that's what you say back. We sat at the long table. My mother placed napkins with the ceremony of someone keeping order. My sister leaned back in her chair, phone face down, a gesture meant to signal presence. My niece, 16 and brilliant and bored, flicked her hair and laughed at something on her screen before anything had happened. I noticed that, too, the laughter in advance, like a reflex. Dinner moved the way it always did, along grooves worn into the wood. Someone complained about the cost of groceries. Someone asked if I was traveling again soon. Someone told a story I'd heard before and I nodded at the right places. It was easy. I had made it easy. The comment came late, after dessert, when the table was sticky with sugar and the defenses were down. My sister said something about a woman at work who thought she was special. And my niece snorted and said, "She's only confident because she has money and no kids." It landed clean, no edge, no heat. A statement, efficient. My mother wiped tears from her eyes from laughing. My sister laughed, too, the kind that says yes, exactly. Someone looked at me, just briefly, then back at the table. No one said my name. They didn't have to. I felt the laugh in my body the way you feel a missed step on a staircase. A sudden, sharp awareness of gravity. It wasn't that I was offended, it was that the room agreed. The room always agreed. I stood. The chair legs scraped, loud enough to cut through the sound. I kissed my grandmother on the cheek. I thanked her for dinner. I said it clearly, with warmth. I put my coat on. My mother asked if I was leaving already. Her voice surprised in a way that suggested she had not imagined a version of the night that did not include me staying to clean up. "I have an early morning?" I said. This was true in the way truths often are, true because you decide to make them so. On the drive home, I didn't cry. I didn't rehearse speeches. I watched the red lights blur and thought about a spreadsheet. It had started years earlier, quietly. A streaming service here because it was easier for my mom to watch her shows. A phone bill there when my sister changed jobs and asked if I could cover it for a bit. A subscription for my niece's tutoring app because she was so promising. The mortgage payment I floated for 2 months when my sister's ex stopped paying child support on time. Auto transfers set up to avoid awkwardness. It was easier to be invisible support than visible help. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the list was long enough to feel like infrastructure. Roads you don't notice until they're gone. I made tea. I opened my laptop. I didn't rush. This wasn't anger. It was alignment. I clicked through accounts with the calm focus I used at work. Cancel. Pause. End. I left notes where notes were required, change in circumstances. I saved confirmations to a folder. I changed nothing that wasn't mine to change. I didn't touch shared accounts. I didn't send messages. I closed the laptop when the list was done and went to bed. Morning came like a receipt. At 7:12 my phone rang. I let it ring. At 7:19 a text. "Did you change something?" At 7:26 another call. At 7:41 an email forwarded from a service provider, the tone polite and final payment declined. Authority arrived without raising its voice. Systems do not laugh, they do not tease, they enforce. By 9, the messages stacked up. Confusion first, then irritation. My sister's texts grew longer, punctuated with question marks that felt like accusations. My mother left a voicemail that started calm and ended tight. She asked if everything was okay. She said there must have been a mistake. She said we're family. I listened once. I did not call back. At 10, my sister finally wrote what she meant: "We need to talk about this. You can't just pull support without warning." I wrote back, I didn't pull support. I stopped providing it. The difference mattered to me. I didn't know yet if it mattered to anyone else. By noon, consequences had names. The tutoring app locked my niece out mid-session. The streaming service went dark. A late fee posted. The landlord emailed my sister about a returned payment with a due date and a policy link. None of this was dramatic. That was the point. It was administrative. My niece texted me directly. It was the first time she had ever done that without being prompted. Why did my app stop working? I stared at the message longer than the others. She was 16. She was learning how the world worked from what the world allowed. I typed and erased. Typed again. I sent you'll need to ask your mom. She sent back a single word. K. In the afternoon, my mother showed up at my door. She had not called ahead. She stood on the porch with her purse clutched like a prop. Inside, she looked around my living room as if it were newly built, as if she had not been here dozens of times. She sat. She folded her hands. This is extreme, she said. You embarrassed us. I nodded. It was the first honest thing anyone had said all day. You could have talked to us, she continued. You could have said something. I could have. I agreed. I didn't. She waited for more. I didn't give it. You know they depend on you, she said finally. You're good at this. You always have been? The compliment was familiar. It had weight. It had cost. I'm still good at it, I said. I'm just choosing where it goes. She looked at me then, really looked, as if she were adjusting a prescription. Are you punishing us? No. I said I'm leaving. The word surprised us both. She stood. She smoothed her coat. She said something about how money changes people. I did not argue. She left. That night, I cooked for 1 and ate standing up. I felt relief and something like grief braided together. It wasn't the loss of connection that hurt. It was the clarity, the knowledge that my presence had been an asset on a ledger I hadn't known I was keeping. Over the next weeks, the family rebalanced. My sister negotiated payment plans. My niece found a free version of the app and complained about ads. My mother learned to navigate menace she'd never had to see. They talked about me in my absence. I became a cautionary tale and a strategy meeting. No one apologized for the joke. No one needed to. The systems had spoken. On a Sunday a month later, my grandmother called. She asked if I was coming to dinner. Her voice was small. I said I wasn't sure. She said she missed me. I said I missed her too. After we hung up, I sat with the quiet. Power did not announce itself. It settled. It stopped leaking. I did not feel victorious. I felt intact. The laughter from that night still existed somewhere, uncollected, like a sound without an echo. And for the first time, that was okay.